The first time that I was in a train shop, I was just blown away. It was just a whole new thing again. Like, the hobby had so much to offer. And as we were leaving, I looked to my wife Victoria and I said, you know, this would be a really fulfilling career to have a model train shop. And she just kind of looked at me and said,
"What? Huh?"
So I know right off the bat she thought I was pretty crazy.
Probably because we've done so much and we've never been super successful at any of the other things we've done.
And this new mall just opened up. So we're like, hey, let's get a booth. And we tried out different things. We had toys, crafts, and I had this little $60 purchase of model trains. So it was barely enough to fill up a whole table. But right away, we could see that there was something there. There were definitely local people that we talked to, and it was really encouraging to see. I'm like, hey, there's something there. But as we went further down the line, we started to realize there are a lot of older people into the hobby. I remember one time I posted some items for sale on Facebook Marketplace, and I got a message one time. I think the buyer was trying to negotiate the price, but I held firm, and ultimately he left off by saying, well, good luck trying to sell it because most people are old and gray that are into model trains. Is model trains a dying hobby? If so, we're probably at the wrong point in time here. I started to really get concerned. What are we doing with our lives?
Is model trains a dying hobby? So let's talk about our perspective as train shop owners. What I've noticed the last few years is progressively more and more people are asking questions. How do you control this? How can I get the sound? All these, what's the best soundboards for locomotives? People are trying to figure out how to even get into the hobby.
Now we see our model train shop the biggest it ever been. And why is that? Because every day we hear of another train shop that's closing. This year we've seen some really big ones close. And it's alarming, but why is it? Is the hobby really dying?
I do think that there is more options out there for kids to get into that are quite easy for kids to get into. So for example, it's probably quite easy for a parent, no judgment, to buy a tablet for a kid to play with. It's really easy. And you have to go around the parents in the household also what their circumstances are. But that's an easy thing. Model trains, I don't want to say isn't easy, but there is more involved than just buying a device and plugging in it to charge it. I think it depends on how involved the parent wants to get as well. Some kids don't even realize trains are a thing.
I wouldn't say that there's a part of the hobby that's dying, but I would say that it's evolving. What I've noticed is more and more people, they want realistic operations. That's why we have DCC, we have sound, and we have definitely more detailed models. I feel like the old tin toys of the past are sort of going away as interests change and different things like that. So what some people might see as dying, it's really just evolving. It's just interests are changing. We're going more from DC operations to Bluetooth operations. And, however you run your trains, it's fine. It's just the overall trend. Things are changing. But I feel like still model trains, I think we're just getting started.
Our YouTube lives, I can hear just through the text that people are chatting in the chat box. You can almost hear it, even though it's not a voice, the passion behind it.
I'll admit, being a little newer to the hobby myself, I don't know everything about real trains. I am learning something new every day. A lot of our customers know a lot more about the hobby and real trains than we do. However, I've definitely worked really hard on trying to understand the business aspect of things.
It's no secret that more and more hobby shops, train shops are closing. It is a legitimate thing. We're seeing it more and more.
And I think one of the biggest problems right now is a lot of these established train shops, they didn't really plan for the future. It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day activities, and then one day you want to retire, and then you realize that you never brought people up in the company to be able to take over. I feel like that's a big thing that happened. I feel like leadership isn't where it should be. and it just seems easier for them to just shut everything down.
I do think it's a shame that some shops are saying it's a dying hobby and it's going to make people think it is.
And I think that's an unfair take, because every day when I'm online, I can see new people starting out layouts, and they're not retired people. In fact, we're seeing more people that are getting into it maybe in their 20s, and they're continuing to build their layout, and they plan to throughout their whole life. And maybe they'll go all out when they retire, but they want to operate as they go and continue to build the layout bigger and bigger. And I also feel that a lot of shops had a hard time going from commerce to e-commerce. Now, right from the beginning, we tried to tackle both. And a big part of that, I always said from day one, I want to offer really good prices online, and I want to offer those same prices in our store. Now, we just started out with this small booth, and we never ever expected to compete with major retailers, but yet we're already at a worldwide level. It's just crazy to me.
As much as Corey and I want to have our business be like growing constantly and it support us in our mission, basically our mission is the priority of making model trains accessible to everyone. As much as we want that, we can't handle, two people can't handle all of the world of model train enthusiasts.
Really, it's an underserved hobby. There's so many people scrambling for new train shops right now, and we just can't keep up ourselves, and we know that other shops are probably feeling the same struggle.
But that is our mission, making model trains accessible to everyone. That is our mission. That is why we bought this property. That is why we are hammering and gutting this old bar room that we got, that we can make it our train shop. And more importantly, we want the model layout. And that's one way that we can get model trains accessible to everyone. That will be locally, but also we really want to broadcast it on YouTube. And we know that some people are not in Pennsylvania. Most people are not in the world in Pennsylvania. It's a small area compared to the rest of the world. But that's one way we can make it accessible, is to broadcast it online, and then everyone can watch it.
Now, once we really started to get going, there were certainly a lot of issues that we ran into. It's never easy to have a business.
Probably the most stressful and hard times for us was when we didn't have the swing of making pre-orders. At first, we would order very little because we didn't want to get in over our heads. And then I think there were just some really good pre-orders that came that we could order, and we ordered way too much. And that was stressful. You know, we didn't want to go into debt. We started with our $60 investment. There were some very hard times trying to intake that and pay for it, because you have to pay for it up front. We also aren't where we are now with our customer base.
We literally started with nothing. We were going through a hard time when we were first starting up. Not a lot of money, not a lot of experience in this whole thing either.
Trusting that it was going to pan out.
It's just so rewarding to be able to help so many people get model trains into their hands. It really definitely serves its purpose. It's a lot of fun, and it's a nice outlet for creativity.
I think if we all gang together and encourage our communities, our families, friends, whoever, I think it wouldn't appear to be dying, as some people are claiming.
So yeah, they said model trains was a dying hobby. I didn't listen. Well, I'm glad I didn't.
So, is model trains a dying hobby? Absolutely not.